So here we are at ComUAV, where we just had an excellent panel on Part 108. We had a group of 3 up on stage, and we really talked about Part 108, its shortcomings, where improvements could be made, and detailed out some of the portions of Part 108 as well. So Vic was up there, and do you want to give a little talk about what you thought?
Sure. No, it was a great session. We had probably a couple hundred people in the audience, which is great to see. Part 108 is by far the most important piece of legislation we've seen come out of the FAA since 2016 when the 107 came out. So it's good to see that. There's a lot of interest in the community. It's probably been part of 75% of every conversation I've had this week here in Vegas. And we got to talk a little bit about what the shortcomings are. There's a lot of shortcomings,
but there are a lot
there's
of
some
good
good
things.
stuff too.
Yeah.
You know, it's protection for drone pilots in there. If you're a large drone delivery service, there's some great language in there for you with some serious tweaks that need to be made in the application language, TSA language, things like that, the operator language. But it's a really good start for them. It's just that monster gap that we talk about between those of us who are already flying BVLOS under 107 and what our requirements would then be to fly under 108.
Yeah. And one of the biggest components of Part 108 is 107 waivers will go away, and they say that. So the question then becomes, what about the operations that are already occurring on a daily basis, as Vic said, under waiver? So you're talking about linear infrastructure inspection, think about roads, think about bridge inspection, you think about a lot of other inspections. How would they occur under Part 108? And one of the things that we brought up was, if you are currently doing it under 107, most oftentimes you're using 2.4 or 5.8 gigahertz control. Under Part 108, that goes away over certain category populations, which is actually a very low threshold. So in essence, you're likely not going to be able to use your drone. There are options for satellite, 4G, but they're not readily available in the United States across all platforms. And it's unlikely that you'll actually be able to retrofit your drones as well. So that's a big concern for us as drone service providers.
Yeah, and the fact that 108 is for fully autonomous missions. Those of us, I'm a photographer, videographer by trade, that's what I do for a living, so I'm flying manually when I fly my drone. Under current 108 rules, proposed rules, as written, I can't do that. It's all fully autonomous missions. There's even some question about whether or not we can fly like a mapping mission where we have to go in and detail where we want to fly. And still have the controller in our hands for when we need to take over in case of emergency, things like that. That gap is, and I think I've used the word insurmountable 20 times already today, if not more this week as well. And that's what needs to be addressed in your comments, absolutely.
Yeah. And technically speaking, if you take a DJI Mini out like 300 feet or so, you're technically BVLOS.
Yeah.
So you'd have to fly under Part 108, which is kind of absurd, right? It's super
really
silly.
Yeah, but so no, the FAA wants our comments. I've been told that by people with FAA.gov email addresses. And they want to be able to take our comments and take it to the people who make the final rule and say, hey, look, we need to fix this, and this. So comment, 100% comment.
Yeah, and definitely pay attention to news sources as well, because there's a lot of industry groups that are having conversations, as well as the state DOTs, as well as other organizations, to make sure that we're really on the same page, because there's a realization that there are some shortcomings with the rulemaking. And for example, one of the things that we've been talking about is to enable these operations that we've been talking about under Part 107, modifying Part 107 so that it could be an additional rating on Part 107 with additional training, which would enable you to fly BVLOS in ways that you are already flying if you have a waiver.
Yeah, yeah, and it's just the importance of our comments are. I mean, really can't even say how important it is that we do this. If the way it's set up now, it's going to put 107 waivered operations back 18 months minimum. Kerry said 5 years, and that's problematic. We're not stepping forward in the industry as we should be. We need these BVLOS rules. We've been hamstrung by them, but these aren't the ones that will open the skies for us.
And for those folks who aren't familiar with Part 108 as well, there's actually 2 types of operations or operators out there. There's permitted operators, and then there's certificate operators. what's interesting under Part 108 is you won't need a pilot certificate. That will happen at a corporate level, which is quite different than the way it is happening now in the FAA, whether it be traditional aviation or drones as well, because it's the pilot, the RPIC, who's actually who gets their certificate. So it's a complete change on that side as well. So there's some fairly stringent requirements in that along the lines of training, personnel, but it's also going to depend on the size of your operation. Permitted is for smaller operations. You're limited in the number of drones that you have, to certificate operations, which are much larger operations and have much more stringent requirements. So it's fairly complicated. And again, there are resources out there where you can get like a summary, a good summary, which is digestible, because nobody wants to go through that entire document unless you're crazy like us do. But go figure.
Definitely. Another one of the issues we talked about was country of origin. There is, the way it's written is you have to have an airworthiness acceptance documentation or something. It's not an airworthiness certificate. That's totally different. But you have to have acceptance of airworthiness either through the FAA or through a country that has a bilateral agreement with the United States. The trouble is, the FAA mentioned yesterday that there's not a single country that has a bilateral UAS agreement with the United States. So that means that would have to be developed. That would have to have, probably IACRA would probably have to get involved in something like that. And so we're talking a whole other layer of developed regulatory issues, I think is a nice way to put it.
Structure.
The structure that isn't developed yet. So how are we going to implement it in 8 months after October 6th when it's supposed to? So there's a lot of moving parts that aren't moving, I think would be a good way to put that with this NPRM. It's good in certain areas, but for the vast majority of it, I think it's out of touch with reality.
And there was a good question that was actually asked. It's like, what can we do as small operators to get us ready for Part 108, get ourselves ready for Part 108? It's really not much. The reason why is there's so much uncertainty, because it is a notice of proposed rulemaking. It's not a final rule. And when you talk about sort of the equipment that's necessary to fly under 108, A, you can't use sticks, and then B, over certain categories of population density, you actually have to use a spectrum that most drones don't have.
No drones have right now.
Well, no, there are.
Okay.
There are some have 4G LTE. Some
that's right.
use Starlink,
That's right.
but those are few and far between, and most drones do not have that. And to be honest, the issue is above that population threshold, you can't use 2.4 gigahertz, 5.8 gigahertz, 900 megahertz that a lot of folks actually use on their drones right now, whether that be FPV, whether that be your DJI, whether that be your Autel, Skydio, or whether that even be your free fly. The issue then becomes, you won't be able to fly those BVLOS, period. And the manufacturers, unless they have certainty, they're not going to manufacture something to a standard, so to speak, unless they know that it's going to become rule.
Right.
So there's no preparation in terms of getting ready for the equipment, because there's not going to be any retrofit. And what's interesting also is a lot of the Part 108 is going to be driven by the manufacturer's recommendations. So the flight conditions you can fly, and the number of people that you have to have on staff, there's a lot of things that are going to be driven by manufacturers. And again, it's so uncertain, it's going to be very tough.
Yep. You have to come up with the equipment to use after the rule comes out.
Yes.
So there's a whole nother pushback there.
Okay.
And then prototype it, and then test it, and then get the approval, and then put it into service.
Yeah.
So even if we do get the rule miraculously 8 months after October 6th, we're talking 2-3 years down the road before it actually can be implemented. And that's, I think, an optimistic timeline.
That's optimistic.
Of talking to certain people. Another big issue that we found, or that has been presented to us, is registration. In order to fly under 108, you have to register under Part 47. So it gets slightly technical. That's what aircraft are registered under. So if you see an N number on the tail of a Cessna, that's Part 47. Yeah. You see an FA number on a drone. All my drones have FA numbers. That's Part 48.
Yeah.
And the way it's written out, everything has to be registered under Part 47. And if you do the algebra on that, by the way, Greg did the algebra on that, there's not enough numbers.
Oh, that's crazy.
If we all
Yeah.
turned over from
And
FA
numbers?
to N numbers, the FA is going to run out of numbers.
Yeah.
And will that happen? No, we're not going to take a million drones that are already registered and turn them into FA or turn them into N numbers. But
Don't
it's-
forget,
it's crazy.
Part 48 allows us to register online, which makes
Yeah.
it super simple.
Everything else is paper.
47 is paper. I think it's like carbon copy paper too. So if
Yeah.
you think the yellow,
the old mimeograph machine out.
the old millennials and younger, you won't know what that is. But it's intricate. It's horrible.
Yeah.
It's a very manual process. You have to come up with a bill of sale, and it's all this transactional details, and it gets to be a complete wreck.
The
Yeah.
reason behind that, though, is the Part 48 is limited to 55 pounds and under. In theory.
Yeah.
In theory.
No, they're just saying.
That's what it says in the preamble.
Yeah, but they're just. I think the FAA is being lazy because all it is additional fields and adding additional fields in a database.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's doable. It's
Surprise!
Mhm.
Oh, we can't handle
Yeah.
photos or video. It's like, come on, folks. This is 2025. You can't upload photos or videos. Come on.
So there are good parts, and I don't
Yeah.
want to, we talk about it like it's bad, and it is. There are parts of it that are not good.
Yeah.
There are a lot of parts of it that are really bad, as a matter of fact. But the FAA knows it.
Yeah. Yeah.
They want to hear from us, and they want to be able to take these comments and say,
Here you go.
fix this.
Yes.
This is not going to work for the industry. This is going to tank a $53 billion industry.
Yeah.
Who wants to fly BB lost? Now, $53 billion is the entire industry, but still, it's not good for the 107 pilots.
Yeah, and to be honest, we love the FAA. They do
work
as
great
well
with
as they
them.
can with the folks that they have. So when you make your comments, please be respectful.
Be very respectful.
Make comments that make sense, how it impacts you, how it can be improved. Talk about your own personal story. Okay. If you use ChatGPT, make sure it uses a voice that it doesn't look like ChatGPT, because we all know what the output looks like.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
yeah. What was that comment they always talk to us about for remote ID, about the lady who liked to drink wine and dance with her cats?
I don't think I've ever heard
You
that.
never heard that?
No.
I think we'll have to. We'll keep people in suspense, and then we can talk about it, because I think that was the most awesome comment that
Okay.
I've ever heard.
Although they do have one comment already, and as of this morning, it's the 20. What is the 3rd? It's the 3rd today. There's one comment that the entire comment says no, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
That's not an appropriate comment to fix 108.
No,
And don't copy and paste,
no, don't copy and paste.
because it all counts as one comment if you do that.
Yes.
So. It's our thoughts.
That's
We
it.
could go a lot deeper.
We can go blah blah.
I
blah,
could
blah.
go on for the next
Yeah,
hour and a
yeah,
half,
yeah,
but
yeah.
no. So, does that work for you?